Good morning, and this morning I want to talk about Microsoft and specifically Xbox. And the reason I want to talk about them is because there's been a fair few leaks coming out recently, specifically from Windows Central, about what Microsoft are planning for the next generation. Now, we already know that Microsoft are ramping up, preparing for the release of, well, what is codenamed at the moment Project Scarlett. But a few more details have started to emerge over the last couple of weeks or so, and it's really interesting stuff. Specifically, what we're hearing is that Project Scarlett will probably be 2 consoles and, possibly even more. And I would speculate that we'll get 2 at the beginning and probably have a situation like we did with the Xbox One, where they iterate upon it over the generation. So I don't actually think that we're going to be seeing a fixed console this time round. I think we'll see these 2 and then maybe one more down the line, and they'll just keep iterating. Because in effect, the next Xbox is going to be another iteration. It's going to be able to play all the backwards compatible games, all the Xbox One games. Everything that you can currently play on your Xbox will be available on the new machines day one. So I think that's really exciting, and it is interesting because you're going to have to get your head around a new way of doing things. It's iterating in the sense that the phones do, but that doesn't mean that you don't get a lot more power under the hood, and it does look like the new Xboxes are going to be extremely powerful. Now, the 2 different iterations that we're going to be getting under the umbrella, if you like, of Scarlett are Anaconda and Lockhart. And Lockhart will be the less powerful of the 2, it seems. And that'll be, in effect, the Xbox One S, but for the new generation. And the speculation at the moment is that it's going to be around about the power of the Xbox One X, although I would suggest it's going to be a bit more powerful than that. I can't imagine it'll have the same level of power. It's going to be a step up again. Microsoft aren't going to put something out that is as powerful as something that already exists. That would be pointless, given that the new consoles will play all the backwards games and all the stuff that we already play. So why would you go and buy a Lockhart console if you've got the Xbox One X, if Lockhart is basically an Xbox One X? So I do think it will be a step up. But the really interesting one for me is Anaconda, and it looks like that one's going to be a beast. Now, where Lockhart will probably be fairly reasonably priced, that's the speculation anyway, Anaconda is obviously going to cost a lot more money because it's going to have a lot more under the hood. And there's speculation that it could even have an SSD for its hard drive, just to speed up loading times, that kind of thing. And the GPU and the CPU, more specifically, in fact, the CPU, look like they are going to be significantly beefed up from what we've currently got. And my personal view on this is that Microsoft are going to come out swinging with this, and Anaconda specifically is going to be a bloody beast. The question remains, though, are these going to be diskless? I would suggest not. Maybe Lockhart will be. And we know that next year we're going to be getting a diskless Xbox One. So maybe they're testing the waters with that to have a look and see if people are prepared to buy a diskless console. And a lot of people will be, because they'll be, buying Game Pass, or they'll be buying their games digitally, and then they simply won't need a disk drive. I'm not one of those people. I want a disk drive. I like to buy some of my games, at least, on disk. But there's definitely a growing market for people who aren't interested in disk-based media. So it's a fairly good move, I think, for Microsoft. And as I say, I wouldn't be at all surprised if Lockhart releases diskless, or maybe we'll even see a third option with maybe a version of Lockhart without a disk, and then a disk-based Lockhart, and then Anaconda, which will have all the bells and whistles, will play 4K media, in terms of movies, that kind of thing. And it'll just, it'll be expensive, but it'll do everything that you would want it to do. And as I said, I mean, I've said this already, but if Anaconda releases and it's not an absolute beast, I'll probably have an aneurysm, because I can't see Phil Spencer sitting still and allowing Microsoft to release an underpowered console again. I just can't see it happening. So Microsoft are really ramping up for the next gen. And, we already know about the studio acquisitions they've made this year, and they're going to be ramping up for, the games on release. But given that everybody is now saying that this is going to release, or these consoles, Anaconda and Lockhart, are going to release for, holiday 2020, I agree with what Sully was saying the other day. Now, I've made a podcast with Sully and the Count and Grant from Over the Edge talking about some of these things, best and worst of the year. So keep your eyes out for that. And in that, Sully said that he can't see a lot of these studios ramping up production for 2020. And I do agree. So that could be problematic. But I do think we're already looking at Gears of War. Maybe we're looking at Halo. They're well into development. So maybe they could drop in 2020. And that would be pretty cool. But it looks good for the console generation, if you like. It looks good moving forward. And Microsoft are definitely positioning themselves to compete with Sony on the first-party exclusives. Except for some of the rumours going around that Microsoft might be looking at allowing games to, cross into other platforms. That's an interesting one. I haven't looked into that in any great detail. Certainly Microsoft are looking to, move more and more into PC gaming. And we know with GameCore, I don't know if you guys have heard of GameCore, but GameCore is the platform, or whatever you want to call it, for simultaneously developing for Xbox, PC, probably mobile, whatever platform that Microsoft want to put the games on. And the idea is to be able to develop the games from the ground up to work with everything day one. And I actually think this is a good thing. Again, a lot of people misunderstand Microsoft, where this is going, and the idea, Xbox is going to go and all the rest of it. And I don't think that for a minute. This is all about getting Xbox games, Microsoft games, into everybody's hands. And, with Project X Cloud as well, where they're looking to move into streaming, that's just a sensible move, because as things move on, we will be moving more and more towards streaming. And we know that Microsoft are looking at making it so that you can play, shooters, that kind of game, on phones. And they're already, again, it's rumours, but it looks like they're trying to do deals with people like Razer. They've talked about this on Windows Central, to make peripherals and other devices to use with phones and various other devices. So that's interesting as well. It looks like Microsoft is trying to expand outwards. This idea that Xbox is dying is nonsensical to me, because it actually looks like Microsoft are going big. And the Xbox, the actual consoles themselves, are just going to be a part of that moving forward. And then we have, Game Pass as well. Game Pass is already really, really popular, and it's going to just continue to grow. And I would imagine we'll get a situation like we have with Sony, where if they've started to allow people to download games as opposed to just streaming, I can see Microsoft going the other way and allowing people to stream games from Game Pass as well as download them. So they'll have, a double-edged sword, if you like. They'll be approaching it from two different angles. But when these Xboxes release, the thing that really excites me, and I've already touched on this a little bit, is the ability to get your new console, whether it be Anaconda or Lockhart, to plug it in, sit in front of your telly, and then download all the games that you currently have on your Xbox One. And that includes the backwards compatible games, both from the 360 and the original Xbox, and all your Xbox One games. But given that this is an iteration as well, there's something else that I think is almost certainly going to happen. And it's this. We can already take our external hard drive that we've got attached to our Xbox with our games on and move it across to another Xbox One. So you can pick up your Xbox One external hard drive, walk to another room, or even take it over to your mate's house, plug it in, log on, and play those games. And I will bet you any money you like that when the Scarlett consoles drop, you will be able to unplug your USB hard drive that is attached to your current Xbox One and plug it into the Anaconda or the Lockhart console and play from there. Day one. You'll have Game Pass available to you, and you'll have all the games that are on your hard drive available to you without any real effort on your part. It might not happen. I'm speculating on this. But if it doesn't happen, I can't imagine it not happening. I really can't, because this is an iteration. This isn't a whole change in architecture. This is just moving on. And they'll be much more powerful. But in effect, under the hood, they will be exactly the same as we've got now, just with more power. And so the ability to take your games and move to the new console without any real impediment, it's going to be there. And the way Phil Spencer's mind works and the way Microsoft seem to be thinking at the moment, it's a no-brainer. It's obvious this is going to happen. And that really excites me. The idea of day one, all the hundreds of games that I've got for my Xbox One, just unplugging them and plugging back in and carrying on from there. That's really exciting. And whether Sony is able to do this, I know they can do it with, you can unplug your hard drive that's attached to your PlayStation 4 at the moment and plug it into another PlayStation 4. If they allow backwards compatibility, then maybe they'll do that to some degree as well. But I'm betting you any money you like now that the way Microsoft implement it will be better, because they're ahead of Sony on this one. So anyway, look, I don't know what you think of this. Some of this is stuff that's almost certainly going to happen. Some of this is just me speculating. But whatever happens, we're going to have an exciting 2019. I know, we're not going to get a whole raft of games next year because everyone's gearing up for 2020 and beyond. But it's going to be an exciting year, news-wise. I've already said this a couple of times. But it is going to be an exciting year next year. I can't wait for it. I'm really looking forward to see what Microsoft are going to offer, what Sony are going to offer. And I'm really looking forward to 2020. Maybe they won't drop in 2020. But at this stage, I will be very surprised if we don't see a PlayStation 5 and an Xbox, whatever it might be called, in 2020. That's what I'm calling now. And if I'm wrong, you can let me know. But tell me what you think in the comments. Do you think we're going to see these consoles in 2020? Are you excited about having 2 consoles dropped and maybe more from Microsoft in 2020? And, what do you think about things like Project xCloud and, GameCore and all these studio acquisitions? And, basically, where do you think Microsoft are going to be in the next generation? Do you think they're going to be competing? Do you think Sony are going to come out swinging and we're going to see an interesting battle in the next generation? As I say, I'm really excited. I can't wait. And hopefully you guys will hang around and, come into my comments when I'm making videos. And we can look forward to this and discuss all this together as it all develops. But in the meantime, I'm going to do what I usually do. I'm going to go and grab myself a cup of tea. And I will speak to you guys in the next one. Don't forget to, sub, thumbs up, all the rest of it. Bye.